Hey, what's going on?
Hey, what's up, man? How you doing?
Good.
Good, good.
Thanks for doing this and hopping on here.
Of course. Absolutely.
We just get to pretend like we haven't been talking for like the past 5 minutes.
It's like, oh, dude, hey,
What's
how you
up? How's it going? It's always just so
right.
much easier to like kind of have like an intro before because I feel like it's pretty hard to go like just fresh into it right out of the gate.
Yeah, yeah, no doubt.
Cool. So I think that the first thing, I've got like five, six questions, kind of just general ones, nothing too like crazy or thought provoking too much. But just like, how did we meet? I feel like that's always a fun thing that people are like, why is this person on your,
Yeah.
stream? So
Why,
like,
why should
um,
we care?
yeah, definitely. I mean, we've known each other. I don't even know how many years was like back when we were like you were in like junior high, even before that, I
Yeah,
would assume, like whatever age you
wait.
are back then.
Yeah. Dude, it actually comes to mind. I've got a funny memory of you because I mean,
Oh boy.
um because I'm 28, you're 20.
Almost 25, yeah.
25. Okay. So like now it doesn't make a huge difference, but back then it was like, oh my gosh, he's 4 years older, like that sort of thing. But I vividly remember um it was like after church had let out, and like the main sanctuary was emptying and stuff or something like that. Or maybe it was before church had started. I don't know. But your dad was like the drummer.
Mm-hmm.
Like he was the designated drummer and everything. And I think he was like warming up. And I remember being there early because maybe my mom was there doing like women's ministry
Right.
stuff or something. And I was just wandering around, just hanging out. And you were like air drumming behind your dad, like as he was warming up, and you were just like so into it. I was like, oh yeah, that's Isaac. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, makes sense. He probably plays drums too.
Yeah,
But
I guess that I've totally like blanked on. I mean, that's like a lot of like my church experience and probably I mean yours too. We
yeah,
like both played for our youth groups like band, which was like a big deal. It kind of teared off like after our ages left, like it wasn't as big a thing and it kind of just
yeah,
died after
yeah,
our groups, but like there was a while where like students were the majority of the band that like did worship for like the student kind of section, which was pretty
right.
crazy that they were able to pull it together every week to actually put on a like performance. I mean, a
I
worship
know.
service, but like pretty
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah. Especially like when there was maybe like six people on stage, like
Right.
with three guitars and then like the youth leaders and stuff. Like it was a big deal, and it was like a badge of honor. You're like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
I gotta get there early to sound check and
Right.
stuff. So,
Yeah, that's where all
yeah,
the cool kids hung out. I mean, that's like
yeah,
a good part of why like I went to youth group as much. I mean, I probably would have anyways, just because like we were pretty much in our church like for every event sort of thing, just because my
right,
parents and everything. But like yeah, getting there early and like I started with playing the drums when I officially like got the got the call that I was being brought up to play drums,
yeah,
and then that's also like the reason I like learned bass and guitar was like we just didn't have anybody and I was like I could I could
yeah,
try. And then like our youth pastor taught me and I was like, cool, I learned bass. And then he's like, it's not that much harder to learn guitar. And I was like, I'll learn guitar. And then I was like the rhythm
right,
guitarist.
yeah.
Cause you play guitar, right?
No,
No,
I'm terrible at guitar. I don't know the first
no,
thing.
Drew
I
plays guitar.
Drew plays guitar. Drew's
You
like
drum. Ken drum.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, drums and well, it's even like not even I'm a drummer. It's just like I do. It's a weird thing where I can do a lot by ear. Like
Mm,
I listen to it and then I can just like mimic it
right.
by playing it. Same thing with bass. Like I taught myself bass just from listening to old like Reliant K albums and
I
just
mean,
like
bass feels like drums for the guitar. That's like the way that I picked it up. I was like, okay, cool. You're just like essentially drumming on like four very basic strings with like
yeah,
holding one note the whole time. I was like, I can do that.
yeah.
That's fine.
Right, right, yeah. The two basic instruments, but like probably the most fun was playing drums
Yeah.
because I growing up in like middle school was when the whole like emo thing started to be a thing, and
Mm-hmm.
I really vibed with that. And I remember buying my first Under Oath CD,
Nice.
like CD in middle school, and then just like air drumming on the toilet, like just because they just went
Yeah.
so hard. So
I feel like that was
yeah,
like a lot of people in that like millennial, or I don't even know what the ages are. There's so many now, but like that age group was like the soft like grunge, like emo
yeah,
music,
yeah,
and then yeah, man, Under Oath. That brings back a lot of memories. I feel like that's like the first kind of song of that genre I heard was like Reinventing Your Exit. And I was like, what
yeah,
is this? And I was like, this is awesome. I feel so
yeah,
angsty right now.
yeah. And
Um,
at the time, it was like, and I'm allowed to listen to it because they're
yeah,
Christians.
that was a like a fine line you could go. There was like them, and then like a little later it was like August Burns Red, where you're like, hey mom, this is Christian music, and they're really talking about, it's, they're referencing things in Revelations where it's like they're not like saying anything bad. It's like totally biblical, and I can totally listen to it.
Right, their hearts are so in the right place.
Yeah,
Like, and if they don't say that, then they probably worship Satan
yeah,
if they're not all right with it. Just hearing their music.
yeah.
So yeah. Oh gosh, you got me down a trail of memories
You
now.
ever
Yeah.
go to like a black parade, which is what they're called here? It's like a DJ who like just plays specifically like throwback emo music, and everyone just kind of like screams and like sings to it.
Oh, yeah, yeah. We actually a couple of buddies of mine, well, like in Michigan, and at least where I heard it, like outside like LA and stuff, is called like emo night.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And sometimes like actual
Right.
art show up. Like I saw Post Malone screaming My Chemical Romance
Nice.
lyrics one time and stuff like that. But a couple of buddies of mine here in GR started our own emo night
Cool.
GR. They called it Get Sad. Um, and they had like merch and
That's so
everything,
cool.
and it grew I think they had like three of them before COVID hit. But oh yeah, like just all the classics
Right.
like MCR and Taking Back Sunday and just sad stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. But yeah, back to your original question, I think it was mainly church because
Mm-hmm.
you were homeschooled growing up,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I went to big bad public school
The
growing
the
up.
school of sin.
Oh yeah. Gotta look at those Penfield boys.
Yeah,
Keep
because
them.
you like went to like Grand Ledge, I want to say, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I went to Grand Ledge High School and just the public school system in Grand Ledge and loved it. Love public school.
And then you also we both went to college in Grand Rapids, right?
Yeah, yeah. I think that was when we started nudging shoulders
Mm-hmm.
again because I was at Cornerstone
Right.
and you were at Kendall.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I was
Um,
like downtown, and you guys were like a little outside of town.
right, right. Yeah. Yeah, I remember bumping into you and I think it was still the age gap of like I've been I've been out of college for a bit and Isaac's like in the middle of college, but I'm like, oh, but he's at Kendall though. He's got to be just doing something cool.
Yeah.
Like all the cool kids go to Kendall.
Yeah, I think that we like bumped in one place, and then like the other place was like bumping you at like Stella's, which is like a bar out
Yeah,
there. And I was like, this is funny because like I don't know, if I just thought back like 5 years, it would be very weird to be like, and then we'll just like meet at a bar. And it's like, what happened there? Like, how did that become like just a very casual thing? But
yeah. You'll be on your third PBR. And
yeah,
you'll just no, Isaac. Yeah, yeah. No, that was funny. And yeah, and I think that, but I think outside of that, it's just following what you do
hmm,
for a living is fascinating. Like I don't know a lick of it, but like seeing you post your work on Instagram and stuff, it's fascinating stuff. And then even with the big names attached to
yeah,
it, projects with Nike and stuff like that. I mean, it's really fantastic stuff. So
yeah.
it's not even from oh, like I knew this kid growing up, but it's like, no, this dude's like stupid talented. Like he's
Uh,
doing some things.
I
So
mean, likewise, definitely, because like it's always funny. I think that, I mean, I talked to you this a little bit before. It's like it's funny that people just kind of like sprout into like different things, and it's like you can know them from one, like, like back home in like churches, and then it's like I'm always curious, like me, for like my artwork, which is like very abstracted, and I don't expect many people to like understand it, but like you as well, who have like really kind of like trailblazed a name for yourself in like your own community of like photographers and just
Mhm.
like people that follow you from like back home. It's just like it's weird that like at one point we all had just like normal social medias, and now like
Yeah,
we have portfolio social medias, and then like people that still are our friends like follow it and will like be like, hey, it looks cool, and I'm just like, I it must be so bizarre following people
yeah,
like us.
yeah. I'm like, why are you still following me?
Right.
Yeah, I always think about that. Like, I mean, I'm grateful that they
Mm-hmm.
still like keep track and that they actually care to keep following what's going on. But at the same time, it's like, man, you just knew a different me back then as far as like what I'm interested in now, and even like as a person a little bit too. Yeah, it's really interesting.
So where did you like kind of I couldn't really pinpoint it when you have like you I knew that you had like started doing more photography, but like was it like college that sort of got you more into it, or like when did you really decide that you were going to like, cuz you like picked it and then like everyone's like, "Yeah, Spencer's doing more photography now." And I was like I saw it pop up a little bit, and then all of a sudden it's like Spencer is a photographer now and he does that full time, and it's like, "Damn, okay, cool. He's doing what everyone like dreams to do."
Yeah, man, it's kind of a complicated story. Well, like I didn't really start like finding myself taking photos until actually I got my first iPhone in
Hmm.
college. I had like a digital point and shoot in
Right.
high school. I think everybody
Yeah.
did and stuff like that. But when I got my first iPhone, and that was when Instagram started like first came excuse me, first came out was in I was a sophomore. So it was fall of 2011.
Mhm.
I remember it was like, oh yeah, there's people downloading this app called Instagram. It's like it's pretty cool. You can like take pictures and it's like Facebook, but like
Yeah.
more, that sort of thing. Um, and then so I started like following like all my favorite musicians. I didn't really know any like big photographers or anything that I'd been following or anything, just because it wasn't easy to keep up with people's work like it is now with Instagram and stuff. But so I followed some of my favorite musicians, and I was like, oh, I get to see like kind of behind the scenes a lot and
Mhm.
everything. Um, and who was it? Oh, you know what? It was Zach Farah from Paramore. I
Okay.
followed him because he actually had like a good aesthetic going. I was like,
Mhm.
oh, that's cool. Um, and he was using this app called VSCO.
Yeah, Visco.
Yeah, yeah. I was like, oh, you can make photos look like film, but you
Right.
took it home. Like that's so cool. So I kind of got wrapped up into that with Visco, and it was honestly like it was just me just taking photos of stuff I thought looked cool, and then paying attention to people who were actual photographers before Instagram came out,
Mhm.
and then all of a sudden they have this whole platform, and so I
Right.
started following them, and I'm kind of more of a hearing visual learner. Like I can look at something and be like, oh, okay, he did that. Oh, okay, he did that. And same thing with music. It's like, oh, okay, he hit
Right.
the hi hat there, like that sort of thing. Um, so I mean, like I was going to school for, I mean, they're fancy words, but it's basically marketing. But it was
Mhm.
called strategic communication
Ooh.
and international business as a minor.
Ooh, very fancy.
Not that impressive. It was just like, oh, you take this one extra class, and all of a sudden you got this big,
Right.
shiny minor. So I was like going in thinking like, oh, I'm going to go into like marketing, that sort of thing, because I like that whole realm of um, carving and crafting a message that appeals to people to like want what you have type thing.
Mhm.
And then there was like the visual aspect that went into that. Um, and then, but it was just like photography. If anything, being in Grand Rapids, I wrote it off as like, um, it's this type of career is just like not possible. Just because
Mhm.
I saw so many like crazy talented photographers here in GR already, and I was like, there's no way in hell like I can get to that level. Like they're it, you
Yeah.
know. And so uh how did it go after that? And fast forward, like I ran the my college's Instagram account for an internship I had with
Mm-hmm.
the marketing department, and that was really fun because I got to go to all these events and like just take photos with my phone, edit them on Visco real
Right.
quick, and write a funny little caption just to get people stoked on what was happening.
Yeah.
Um, and so uh, after that, just like there's like little stepping stones
Mm-hmm.
along the way. Like I got um, a discounted ticket or whatever you want to call it to go to Zambia with a group from Cornerstone. Um, they have this program there called Night of Nets. They raise money throughout the year to buy bed nets to help different villages in
Okay.
Zambia. Um, Malaria. It's a big problem over there. Um, and so my mentor in college led the trip, and he's like, "Hey, I'll give you a discount on the sticker price if you be our trip photographer." I was like,
Okay.
"Oh, trip photographer! Whoa, that's crazy." And so after that, I remember during winter break, I was just bored, and I made a Facebook account, like a business Facebook, because you were taken seriously if you had a
Yeah.
business Facebook. And I designed a website on Squarespace. I was just like, hey, this is kind of fun. Like,
Mm-hmm.
this is cool. And just started adding photos to it. And it was all just like, this is fun. Like,
Yeah.
there's no end goal or anything. Um, and then I did some other stuff after college. Like, I did a marketing internship with a whitewater rafting company in Colorado. Got to take photos here and there. It was
Mm-hmm.
mostly like fun in the mountains, photos and stuff. Um, Came back, worked at the Apple store here in Grand Rapids.
I think
And
that's where I like mentally clock, like remembering like Spencer like went away from like Michigan and I was like, okay, he's like off doing his thing, and then like everyone's like, hey, he's back and he's like at Apple now.
yeah,
I was like, oh, okay, cool. And then like after that it was like pretty fast that I was like, oh my gosh, and he's like now doing this like photography stuff.
yeah, it like snowballed. I actually, when I was in Colorado, I applied to work at Visco because they had a couple different positions opened, um, and at the time I was like, oh, I kind of want to stay in Colorado. It's really cool out here and it's different and
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that. And I actually tried to work for Visco, and like went through the whole interviewing process and everything, and didn't hear back for a long time. And then once I was like a month in at Apple, Visco contacts me. Is like, you're like one of three finalists for this.
Whoa.
And I was like, holy shit, are you
Yeah.
serious? Like, but at the time, and then looking at it, like other other big photographers had taken this job, like since I basically turned it down because I
Mm.
was like, this job doesn't really, I mean, Visco is an amazing company, but this job in particular, this position in particular is like, I don't know if like I would fit with this. Like it just wasn't a good fit at first. But then I find like other big photographers like Joe Greer. I don't know if
Right.
you
Yeah, I followed him.
he worked at Visco around the same time that if I had accepted the job, I would have been
Mm.
working with like guys like Joe
That's
Greer. So
crazy.
it's just like one of those things where you look back and you're like, what if, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So I come back. I worked at the Apple store, and then during the summer, I was like, you know what? Like, I'm just gonna put myself out there. Like, I know I won't be at the Apple store forever. It's
Mm-hmm.
retail. Like, it's fascinating. I get to like talk about cool
Yeah.
stuff, everything. But like, I just want to put myself out there.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. That summer, I shot 5 weddings, about one a month
Wow.
actually. I was full time at Apple, and so they were, vacation time and
And
stuff.
those were coming just from your like website that you had put up, or like friend, family, friend contacts, or like totally random.
it was all like friends and friends of friends.
Cool.
Yeah, and so that was like my first experience, like actually shooting a wedding. I had a my friend Rachel. She lives in Portland now, but she signed on. She had been shooting weddings for a while,
Mm,
and she signed on to be my assistant, like second shooter for those, because I was
cool.
like, I feel good being doing this on my own yet. Um, yeah, so that summer I did like 5 weddings. Kind of got the hang of it. Then I moved to Asheville, North
Okay.
Carolina, for a little bit. I kind of chased a girl down there, and didn't really do any photo work. That didn't work out, so I moved back in December of 2015. Um, Actually, in a pretty low spot. I was like
Mm,
23, moved back in with my parents, didn't know what I was gonna do. Like, I
yeah.
mean, I'm heartbroken, like,
Mm-hmm.
just like absolutely just did not have a compass at all. Um, and so I was living at home in Grand Ledge. I didn't have any friends around. Like, I mean, my parents and I are friends,
Yeah.
obviously. Like, other than that, I was driving Uber on Michigan State's campus for money and
Mm-hmm.
also not go insane. Um, and at that time, I was like, you know what? Like, I kind of have an opportunity here. I'm just gonna like put myself out more and just like really push, at least on the digital side, putting more of my work out there. And so I ended up getting contacted by a production company here in GR, that a friend of mine had been, they like contract out photographers to
Mm-hmm.
shoot things for their name. And a buddy of mine, who's actually like my housemate, like one of my best friends now, this was all like 5 years ago. It's so weird, but um, he had been contracting with them for a bit, but was making the leap to like do his own thing now.
Mm-hmm.
And he had told the company about me, and so they reached out and they were like, "Hey, we have an open contractor position. Are you interested?" And so we worked it out, and that was like my ticket to move back to Grand Rapids. So I was shooting for them and editing for them as well, but I was also like working on my own stuff on the side.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then after about a year there, like just stuff with mine just started to snowball.
Cool.
And it was starting to get out of like friends and friends of friends and like college acquaintances and
Mm-hmm.
stuff. It was more like randos off the internet were like contacting me. And so that was like the tipping point of like, all right, I think I can pay the bills and buy groceries.
Hmm.
I just went with my own thing. It was a scary leap for sure. I was like, man, this is so unstructured.
Right.
Like freelancing is pretty anxiety inducing.
Mm-hmm.
So, um, but I did it. I was just kind of like, well, let's see how it goes.
Yeah.
And that was about 4.5 years ago, and then from there it was just get better with every wedding or with every shoot.
Mm-hmm.
Don't stop learning. Like just basically don't coast. And
Yeah.
I don't know, with me, like that's always been my fascination to like, okay, how can I do it better next time? Like, how can I make it the process more seamless? Like, and then also just like being inspired by other people's work too, and really finding like my lane to be in,
Mm-hmm.
and like that. So, because I feel like this is getting outside your question.
No, that's
Sorry.
fine. No, this is all like this is I think like what I was really after was because it's like it kind of all is hidden behind like what you share, and so like to other people it
Yeah.
can seem like this like perfect like smooth right into like what he's doing now, and it's just like there's I
Oh,
know there's like more
hell no.
like battles in the background that like people don't really get to share, and I know as like an artist
Yeah.
myself when I've been able to like explain it to people and like have someone be like, how did it happen? Be like, oh well, here's all the times that I've like thought about how crazy it happened. So it's like
Yeah.
I think it's just good for people to be able to hear every person's like journey because they're all different.
Oh, totally. Yeah. Yeah. It, and that's why it's like answering the question of like, so what made you want to go into photography? And I was like, well, it's kind of a combination of always being really fascinated with it and just it being a hobby. And also like, I didn't have a job. And
Yeah.
so like, hey, let's just like, you kind of just say, screw it. And let's just see where it goes. Um, but yeah, it was not a it was I don't know. I think the irony is funny too because in college I wrote it off as like no, like there are some heavy hitters here in GR.
Hmm.
I don't even know where I'm at right now. Like it was just something I didn't have on the table, which I'm actually like super grateful that it went that way because I didn't have the expectation
Right.
of like if I'm not a full-time photographer someday, like what is the point of my career or
Yeah.
anything? It's kind of like, yeah, that probably won't happen, and it won't break my heart if it doesn't happen. But like, it's cool to like daydream about, you know.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, it's. I think the biggest thing too is like staying true to like what I was naturally fascinated by.
Right.
Like I love shooting weddings, like I absolutely do. Like, and I'm grateful I do. But I out of fascination, I love looking at like street photography.
Yeah.
That's probably some of my favorite, like old film street photography books are
Hmm.
like an hours looking at. And I really take a lot of that inspiration and put it into the wedding context, which they're very much like the same
Right.
in some ways. A lot of stuff is happening that you had no control over. You're just there experiencing it
Hmm.
and taking photos as it's happening. And um, that's the kind of stuff that like keeps me going and keeps me fascinated because every wedding is different
Yeah.
because it's got different people with different temperaments, with different personalities, with that everything is just different. Like the
Yeah.
set is the same, and like the rituals are sometimes like very much the same, but I mean complex like people are involved, and so
Hmm.
therefore it's different. And I just love just looking back, like kind of standing back and just watching and just seeing how people, their humanity come out. It's
Yeah.
cool to see.
I think that
So
it probably is also like a little bit of your like you had that itch to like make compelling stories in marketing, which was like one avenue, but I feel like you still get to make I mean like when I read your like posts about people I don't know, but I just like swipe through and like read your explanation of like what you were trying to like say through it. It's like, yeah, I mean it comes through like I have no connection to these people, but like it's it's like a very specific task to like capture and like be a documentate like document things, but also like document like the emotion that was going into it. There's like two different like I feel like I as like I wouldn't be able to I'd be like the analytical person who could like capture like the set things you're supposed to capture, but like maybe there's a half second between that and then like the true emotion of the moment, which I feel like is like
yeah,
the fine tune that like can ever be like oh you can always be like fine tuning like trying to get closer to like the white whale of like the perfect wedding where all the moments are captured, nothing like it's missed.
yeah,
And,
it's all shiny. It's
yeah.
all like those stress me out. Like it's so funny because like there's a part of me that just really loves the chaos, and I love just like sitting, not letting it, not wanting to just get in there and make it perfect and
Hmm.
like move everybody around, but just like sit back and like let it be what it is, and find the different angles and the different glimmers of what you're trying to capture. And the main thing that always comes to mind uh, on a wedding day is like how can I bring like people's true selves out, and so there's different ways of spurring that on in how you communicate with
Hmm.
bride and groom and stuff. But some of my favorite times are just the reception when it's like I have no part to play. Like I'm not directing at all.
Yeah.
I'm just back and watching. Like I don't know. I feel like I'm a very good reader of people,
Hmm.
like their outward expressions. And so that combined with just having like a camera, I don't know. It's like, will they? I want to get something that not only shares what is going on right now, but something that they'll want to look back on later and be like, oh my gosh, like I can't believe he got that
Right.
little tiny moment right there. Like, yeah. So I try to be pretty selective on who I follow on the internet. Cause there's I don't know, Instagram, like the wedding photographer Instagram world is really inspiring, but also just full of shit sometimes. It's just like trying to be as clean and
Right.
polished as possible. And I'm super guilty of it because I'm trying to market a
Right.
business.
Yeah, definitely.
But I don't know. That's why I love going back to like street photography books. It's just so raw
Hmm.
and organic. And Joe Greer is like a awesome, awesome example of that. Um, like the way he just captures like New York City life, like is
Yeah.
just fascinating.
Do
And
you
him,
follow Ryan Booth at all?
Ryan Booth. I don't think so. No.
He's he's kind of, I would say, like he's more of like a director who does street photography kind of on the side, and it's like full
Sweet.
film and everything. And he also does like New York City. He shoots a lot of like street video. um,
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh, okay. I've heard of this guy before.
yeah,
Oh, he did stuff for David Ramirez. The
he does like a lot of like high profile stuff, but then like does his own personal stuff. And he came on my radar because he also works with some of my friends in like the CG community. He did like a pretty cool like street photography, but like compositing robots into it, which was like a pretty crazy
oh,
concept called like American Machines. That my friend Olaf did all the like CG stuff, and then Ryan shot all the plates of like film. It's pretty
that's
crazy.
fascinating. That's really cool. Those are the type of people like I want to follow.
Mm.
Like just like hot babes on mountaintop. Real sick of that real quick.
Yeah, I've like ventured into other people's Instagrams, just like scrolling through. I was like, oh my gosh, this is like a different world, because mine is like 99% my job slash other artist, and then like 5% like, or I guess 1% out of that equation is like back home friends, and then like people that like I like need to keep up with as like
Yeah,
just like
yeah,
long term relationships, and then it's just nothing like other people that is just like my wife's a lot is just like meme after meme. And I was like, I mean, it's fun. Like she actually saves memes on her account because I genuinely don't see any. And she's like, oh, I have like your memes for you. I was like, cool, awesome. We could go look at these together, because like they don't show up on mine because I just don't really like. It's kind of like
yeah.
a curated thing when you're like presenting yourself as like you plus a business plus like you got a network on it. It's like all sorts of stuff.
Totally, totally. Yeah. And that's the line that kind of like what we were talking about earlier before we started streaming was like I needed another space where I could
Mm-hmm.
just off. Like I mean it depends on what type of person you are, I feel like too. But me is like I don't want to be like this this like one dimensional figure of like this person who just pumps out photos all the time. Like I love internet memes and like semi dark humor
Right.
and you know so just like have a place to like share my life because I'm a three-dimensional person as
Mm-hmm.
well, but then have that other side where I can be more professional, be still be like me, but be more like professional. Of like, hey,
Yeah.
like if I'm Spencer, this is what I get,
Mm-hmm.
you know. So
Yeah, but I've
yeah,
kind of made the breakaway. I mean, I have the personal that I just like. I like to capture just like on my phone, like up in Visco, and then like throw something up where I'm like, hey, it's a it's a cool composition kind of, um,
yeah, yeah,
and then I'll put that on the second. But I feel like I can be myself in my stories is what I've kind of come to terms with. Like my stories are for me, and like if you want to like know more about me, and then like I'll keep all of my like posts that are like kind of like the forever like portfolio, and that's kind of my different like my different take on that, so that like like social justice issues and things can be like on the story, but then you're not like getting it in your feed as well.
totally, totally, yeah, exactly, yeah. I yeah, sometimes with the stories, I'm not super conservative, like. Uh, Occasionally I'll like post something to my business one that I meant to post my personal. I'm like, like whatever. Like
Yeah.
the like who really cares, you know?
Hmm.
As long as it's not, you know, dark, like just inappropriate stuff
Right.
that you can be posting anywhere really. So yeah, yeah, it's an interesting thing. I was actually talking to Drew about this this morning because he deleted all social
I
media.
remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, just for like mental health reasons. And he talks about like how much better he is for it. Like he feels like he can be um, just the draw of like getting into creative work and because I mean he extremely creative
Mm-hmm.
guy all over the board, but he hated the pressure to feel like he had to like curate it in a way to show people just like how like artsy he
Right.
was and stuff. And he's just like, now I can just be creative just for me and
Mm-hmm.
not have expectation put on myself to like show it to people to
Yeah.
like show who I am. And I'm like, dude, I'm envious. I really am. Um, like of course, like putting stuff on the internet doesn't have to be this whole process, but at least not having the expectation to, oh gosh, I need to like keep reminding people like what
Mm-hmm.
I who I am and stuff, you know. I was like, dude, that's that private life is pretty enviable sometimes.
Yeah. Not having like what you do be dictated by like shareability of said thing, or like what you can
Yeah,
kind of like post about it afterwards is like a big thing. Um,
exactly. He's like, yeah, I can, because he's learning to sew right now,
mm-hmm.
to like sew, like repair bags and repair denim and stuff. And he's like, yeah, I can go at my own pace and learn.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm terrible at it right now. I don't feel like I need to like hide it or uh, constantly keep people updated on how this is going. It's like, yeah, I don't have an audience, and it's kind of great.
Right.
So, yeah,
It's definitely been a big thing for me, is that I, for a long time in my feed, was like very, very critical of like what would go out and like if it met the quality of
yeah,
things I'd put out before. And like a lot of people were like, I mean, it's kind of a mixture of like genuine, like, you know, don't care what people say, but also like, your brand is like having issues because like you're not growing any of that because you're not posting as much because you're too critical on what you post, so then it like it hinders that aspect, and you just have to be a little bit more free with like
yeah,
recently I've just been trying like things that go up on stream which might not have always like hit the mark of like art that I would be like okay with sharing. Is like it's cool because it is a process, and like people are genuinely more interested in your growth than they are in like your final products most of the time. So if you share your growth, people will be invested not just in like your output but also like you, and feel like they have a more genuine connection to you as like an artist.
yeah. No, absolutely. And even kind of the thought of like, you know, that whole thought of maintaining your brand,
Mm-hmm.
thinking about that whole process and stuff. And I was thinking about it the other day, like if your brand that you're trying to uphold is something you're trying to achieve, then you're ultimately your brand should just what naturally comes out of you.
Right.
Like that's your brand. It's not some type of like, you know, basketball hoop you
Mm-hmm.
constantly have to jump towards. It's
Yeah.
like, no, it's like this is my brand. This is who
Mm-hmm.
I am. This is what effortlessly comes out of me. And I don't know. I feel like if you view it more that way, maybe you get like a little less critical because it's
Right.
like, no, it's me. Like,
Mm-hmm.
this is me, you know? So
Yeah.
I don't know. Because I have that stuff too of like, is my brand being maintained? Like, do
Yeah.
people recognize the consistency of work? And I'm like, dude, chill.
Yeah, definitely.
Just make it how you want it to look and like what is acceptable to you, and that becomes like the status quo for what your brand is. So
Has like your Instagram growth, which has been like, I mean, like pretty big. I mean, just comparative to like what normal just like people accounts are, when you know like a couple hundred, maybe 1,000, and then like it definitely grows beyond that when you start like presenting yourself as like a business front essentially. So do you get a lot of work that just comes through like Instagram, or is it mostly like a website email, or like always curious about that?
totally. It's actually funny. I barely get hardly any business through Instagram.
Hmm.
Um, Usually, like it has a great engagement and such, but I don't have people like coming in through the DMs with all this wedding stuff,
Right.
like wedding inquiry type stuff. It'll happen like every now and then, but it's not like if Instagram was deleted tomorrow, like I would be out of business,
Hmm.
which I think is a good thing.
Good. Yeah.
There are parts of me that's like, like I put a lot of time and
Right. I
effort.
wish there was more, ROI
Yeah,
on this.
right, right. But no, most of my work comes through um, probably through Google, and right now, like past clients,
Mm-hmm.
referrals, and like vendors I've worked with. So like venues I've worked at, work really hard to like keep it pretty organic. But this time, or through COVID and just having like a wide open summer because
Mm-hmm.
everybody's rescheduling their weddings, I'm actually getting more into Facebook and Instagram ads and
Okay.
stuff. I hired a marketing consultant that
Fancy.
I actually found through a Facebook ad,
Nice.
and was like, "Oh, dude, like you know what you're talking about. You're not, you know." He's wicked awesome, and he like constant communication. I think he actually lives in New York City.
Hmm.
Um, but all these different things that I had no idea about, such as like Facebook pixels and Google Ads Manager and
Hmm.
all that technical jargon. So I'm just starting that out of creating Facebook and Instagram ad campaigns and like the whole process of if the ROI on an Instagram or Facebook ad isn't meeting KPI,
Mm-hmm.
uh, which he says, I forget what KPI stands for. I just remember the letters KPI. What is? Do you know what it stands for again?
I mean, if
K
it's in the term of like return on investment, known
known percentage KPI. I'm gonna Google it real quick. Key performance indicators.
would have never ever guessed that.
Yeah. So it's like cost per click,
Okay. Yeah.
that sort of stuff, like landing page views,
Mm-hmm.
sort of stuff.
And you're directing that like to your website?
Yeah. Um, so it's figuring that out, that whole like going on the offense
Right.
when it comes to advertising. I'm
Mm-hmm.
starting to get more into because in all reality, with how saturated the market is, like referrals are really great
Right.
as far as like getting outside of your echo chamber,
Mm-hmm.
and attracting new people who have never heard of you
Right.
before. It's something that it's weird. It's something that I don't see a lot of wedding photographers do.
Hmm.
Um, and so at least like for me, it's an avenue I want to go more down so I can, have that sustainability and
Right.
not rely on other people to
Mm-hmm.
bring to me, but like actually like coming from me, that
It's
sort
kind of
of
a
thing.
crazy business model, specifically as like weddings, because for the most part, if you do a great job, they only do that once, and now you have to like find somebody else to do it. It's like you kind of keep gotta like going back and being like, cool, you are all married now. Is there anything else that like and I can do for you? Like you want to do like an anniversary? Do you do that sort of thing where you like go for like like special occasion sort of things, or it's mostly pretty much just weddings?
It's pretty much like the wedding is the one and done,
Mm-hmm.
with what they hire me for. Sometimes they'll hire me to do like engagement portraits leading up to the wedding
Right.
day. Usually, like after the wedding, the majority of them, like I never see them ever again. um, there is the occasional like I've taken maternity photos
Okay.
for people, that's really special. I did that one of those this past year, and that was really special. Like I'd photographed this couple's um, wedding, like right when I was just starting out, like under my own name, and they were fantastic,
Hmm.
and uh, And then she contacted me 4 years later and is like, "Hey, I'm due pretty soon, and we want to get some maternity photos." So that was really cool
Yeah.
how we like in one spot when I photographed them
Mm-hmm.
made this commitment to each other, and now I'm like 4 years into the game, and they're having a baby, and their family's changing. I don't know, just like the
Yeah.
evolving. This is really cool.
We actually got a
Um,
question in our chat. Our first question for you. I
cool.
guess more towards the marketing part. So it says, do you market
Yeah.
toward an ideal client or just like a broad net with those like ads and see kind of what comes in from it?
Yeah. It's more towards engaged couples.
Okay.
That's like specifically on Facebook, um, marketing towards people who like have um, themselves posted as like being engaged to somebody.
Okay.
So the relationship status. Um, that's really it.
Hmm.
At least that's what I've been advised to
Okay.
do. People do it differently, but because you can get into a whole mess of filters like
Yeah.
people who people who look at the Knot magazine or people who are have all these like
Yeah.
interests. Um, that gets really. I mean, you can totally do that if you want,
Mm-hmm.
but at least like this, the ways that I've been instructed to do, I might try it, sure, like
Yeah.
you know what'll happen, but it's usually towards people who have like actually labeled themselves as engaged on Facebook.
Yeah.
uh, so yeah, that's kind of it so far. Just getting into it, don't really have anything to report just
Yeah.
yet of everything, but it's like trial and error.
Mm-hmm.
It's There's like this 4 day window, where you set a budget amount of how much you want to spend,
Yeah.
uh, and also like what specific cities or target areas you're trying to go to. And after 4 days, if these different performance levels aren't meeting where they should be, at
Mm-hmm.
least like that's why I hired somebody who knows marketing.
Right.
So what, you know, then you just delete it, chuck it, and then try a different angle, try a different like photo or like
Mm-hmm.
content you put into the ad. And then you just kind of like rework it and mold it into it's something that is
Yeah.
like giving you inquiries. So it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting. It's a new avenue for me, even though I majored in marketing in
Yeah.
college.
I'd ran a couple like on Instagram just through like when you hook up your profile to like a Facebook account and like make yourself up like a business Instagram, they like really shove on you. They're like, you want to make this post an ad? Do you want to make this post an ad? This
Oh
post could
yeah,
be an ad, and I'm like, cool, I'll make it an ad because it was like you can spend like $10 and you'll see it. 3,000 people will see it. I was like, okay, whatever, sure. I'll like throw like $50 of this thing, and like it was all great, and like the data that it like got was okay, and like got a couple followers, and I was like, cool, this is like nice to know about. But the only issue I had is that there is no way for it not to show up to people who already follow you. And I got like a slew of people that are like, why am I seeing ads from you? And I was like, that's not what I want. So I just like I gave up on them. I was like, I don't need to do this. It's super cringy when people are like, hey, can you stop putting ads on my feed? I'm like, it's not, you just happen to like the thing that I'm targeting to. So it's showing to you, it's doing its job. Yeah.
interesting stuff. Yeah, yeah. No, totally. And that actually, I ran my first round of ads. When was it? A couple weeks ago, and I saw a couple people that I was friends with on Facebook my ad. I was like, and but they were engaged, so it checks out. But
Yeah.
at the same time, I was like, whoa, full circle. That's
Yeah.
weird. Yeah, but it's a weird thing, especially with algorithms changing all the time, and you kind of have to play by Facebook's rules a little bit
Mm-hmm.
too. But I mean, it's at least for us freelancers, who like after the wedding day's done, you like you got to find more clients. Like
Yeah.
you don't have a kind of like what you do. You sign on with an agency
Mm-hmm.
for you know
A lot
a
safer
long,
form of freelance than yours, which is like gig
yeah,
economy sort of freelancing.
yeah. So you have, at least with me, like going on the offense is, instead of, because then you talk about like these big platforms like Wedding Wire and the Knot and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
the pros and cons of those platforms and everything. So yeah, there's a lot of different ways, and it's kind of just like bumming through it until you find something that works for you,
Yeah.
and ride that wave. So
So we got
yeah.
another one that says most of your clients coming through your website. Curious if you had like serious thoughts on like when were you intentional with like SEO and keywords in your website? I mean, have you like added more things as you started doing marketing towards it, or are you just kind of like purely going off like drive from like ads?
No, SEO is another thing that I only just recently, within the last like 2 years,
Mm-hmm.
actually put time into, like making it streamlined and dialed in. And what's cool is, um, like a company like Squarespace make SEO super
Right.
easy. It's a super user friendly platform, and I mean, I'm not a coding nerd,
Same.
and so I'm like, oh, this is super overwhelming. Like, am I gonna have to like go back to
Yeah.
college to like code or something? But they make it super easy to, and then also other resources online through, like, you know, listening to people who know all about SEO and
Mm-hmm.
stuff. Yeah, so definitely SEO is something. I actually just rebuilt my website over the summer, and launched it without telling anybody. I was just like, "This is for me. I'm gonna redo it. Like, totally new template, new coloring."
So it's still the SpencerPenfield.com one.
Yeah, still
Just gonna
SpencerPenfield.com.
put it in the chat so it'll be
Sweet,
logged there.
shameless plug right there.
Yeah.
Um,
How long did it take to get SpencerPenfield.com, or was it always available?
oh, it was always available.
Same with mine. Mine's just like Taracks.com, and I only had one person ever be like, "Do you want to sell it?" And I was like, "No, never ever,
Not on your life, dude.
no."
No.
Not when I can have my first name at my last name. Doesn't get better than that as like branding wise. I'm just like that's. I'm content with that. That's what makes me
Living,
happy.
living the good life right
Yeah.
there. Yeah, yeah. I actually don't. I've never Googled my name before, actually, because you know how sometimes you
There's no
live.
way. Everyone has to Google their name at some point.
I mean, maybe I have.
I
I
mean,
don't even
mine's
know.
just a slew of stuff that's just like, art being shared around on Pinterest. And it's just like Pinterest has destroyed the search engine of my name because it's like the same. Like, I'll give a free asset away, and then that will be like the first 1,000 things because everyone has a different link to it. So I'm just like, my like portfolio at least comes up as like the first link, but image wise, it's just like free giveaways.
Jeez, that's crazy. Yeah, but no, SEO. I also use a, a blog feature because, like blogging weddings and
Mm-hmm.
shit, stuff like that. I use an app called Narrative.
Okay.
I think it's still called Narrative. Yeah, it's called Narrative Publish. They're out of either Australia or New Zealand or something, but it's a really awesome app where you can, like drag and drop photos. Sometimes I do it straight from a hard drive, but it connects to Lightroom as well.
Oh, cool.
I'm pretty sure. And so you can design different blog templates and stuff to, like, so it's not just like
Mm-hmm.
photo, but it's like collages and
Right.
stuff. It's really clean. They have an SEO tool uh, type thing built into that.
Okay.
So you like add keywords to each individual photo.
Nice.
It'll tell you whether your keywords are good enough or like strong enough, or like if your blog title has the keywords in it, or
Hmm.
the description, it has too many letter figures in it as well. Like,
Hmm.
it really,
Yeah.
like SEO for dummies built into it. So yeah, and that's always the best feeling when I get a client inquiry come in and it's like, we found you on Google. I was like, awesome.
Yes.
Like
Perfect.
something's working.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Um, so yeah, I pay attention to all that
Mm.
stuff because it's all important, and just to slowly chip away at it, and of course it gets like stronger over time.
Yeah.
But I don't know, like looking at analytics of things has been really fascinating
Mm-hmm.
too. It's like Squarespace has an analytics
Yeah,
side,
I really like their analytics.
really easy to
Do you
read.
sell anything off your website, or do you just like do you have a store on it or no?
No, I don't.
Because their store analytics are, I like sell like a couple digital assets, and it's like insane the amount of like granular detail they go into that you can
Oh,
like
cool.
totally tell what's happening.
Oh,
Um,
sweet. I'll have to check that out.
yeah,
I
Squarespace is amazing.
Yeah, I've been meaning to attach because I sell photos and different types of like different types of things that clients can buy, like wedding albums and
Mm,
calendars and stuff through a program called PicTime, PIC-TIME. And that user friendly, or it's so user friendly, it's
nice.
crazy. But that's how I deliver photos, and
Right.
that's where clients can like go in on their own time and select the photos they want to download or they want to order through the print store that's connected to that.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, yeah, like PicTime is partnered with a bunch of different photo printing services all over the world,
Nice.
and so you can, like me, I can choose which company I want to print all of my prints to send to
Cool.
clients, and like which company I want to have make the albums to send to clients and stuff. It's really sweet. But there's also you can set up like your own gallery where you can upload like your personal work too,
Mm,
and put a link to that in your website, and like your own print shop.
nice.
Uh, People can buy not just wedding clients, but people can go on and like buy a photo I took in Iceland, like that. So I've been meaning to get on that. Just things have been kind of hectic, but
Yeah, I feel like I've like every digital artist is like at some point dabbled in like the like print space, but like at least for me, I was like return on investment of like remembering to like curate that and like promote that versus like the
yeah.
like small margins that you make from it. I was just like, it's not the one that I've been looking into more now is crypto art, which is like pretty crazy and I don't fully understand it, but it's like tokenized digital art that like collectors in that space like collect and have like a
Oh,
certificate that they own like the digital copy of that, and it can be like
yeah,
validated, which is kind of crazy with metadata and like the blockchain technology behind it. And
yeah.
some people are doing like crazy deals, like upwards of like, I mean, it's all in crypto, but it's like, I think the highest one that sold was like $300,000 as like crypto art. And I was like, whoa.
Okay, now.
Yeah. So I
Okay.
was like, I can take, a week to figure out how to get into this space as a 3D artist.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
Um, yeah, so a bunch of different things going on for sure.
we got another one. Do you get a lot of okay, yeah, this makes sense. And I'm kind of curious about this. Do you get a lot of traffic from your blog like showing up and people like finding you through like that weren't even like really looking for like the wedding photography aspect of it? Because like it does seem like a little bit of like time invested to like make a blog post. I mean, even if it's like frictionless through like how you curate it, you still got to like, kind of like write it out and like think about the story behind it before you post it.
Totally. Yeah. I can't remember the last time it's been because, oh, I found this blog or
Hmm.
anything. If anything, I do those to help boost SEO.
Okay.
Uh, so like um, putting getting all the information that went into the wedding day, like the venue,
Right. Okay.
the dress designer, the shoe designer, like all those
Mm-hmm.
links, at least from what I've been
That makes
told,
sense.
like having those website links in the blog um, just makes it
Further
more
validates that like you are like the correct result of, like
exact.
accompanied to it based off. Okay, that makes sense. Like it may not be like a I mean it also probably is good for I know like when we were finding our wedding photographer, it was like a lot of like I mean we could find a bunch and like search a bunch and people were like recommended, but it was like you really have to validate someone through like what they present on their website. And so like a
Right.
blog can really help people feel like they get to know you before like picking you. And I mean, I'm sure you do like consultations where you like talk to them before like you agree as well. But I think that like as much information as you can post forward probably on your side is like even less questions for them to like not pick you or like not reach out.
Exactly. And that's one of the big reasons why I took the time to totally just from the ground up, like make a new website in
Hmm.
essence. Because my other one was super
I
minimalist.
remember that one. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
I
like a
mean,
gallery kind of feel.
yeah, I was like, I thought it was sexy as hell. Like,
I mean, design wise, loved it.
design wise, loved it. That was actually the first website I ever made
Mm-hmm.
in 2014, winter break of senior year of
Yeah.
college. I just like added different photos as I went on, but it was the same
Did you
template.
start with like a photography based template? Because I remember the funniest thing is that my website still to this day is built off a restaurant template. I just liked it and I was like, whatever. I like got rid of all the like menus and like all that stuff and like how to
Dude,
order.
same. That's what I did for my site.
Yeah.
Yeah, I used the restaurant one and
They
just
were
like
the best ones. I was just like, I love like big full images. I was like, oh, I guess I'm going with the restaurant.
exactly, exactly. And especially with Squarespace, a lot of the ones catered to photographers are not super interactive.
Mm-hmm.
Like there isn't a whole lot of like scrolling motion or anything like that. It's very like portfolio minimalist based, which I really loved. I was about it. But thinking more about on the client side of things, how can I still be minimalist and still be me,
Right.
but also have it be a good resource where they feel like they know about 75% of what I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
and the last step is to just like actually have a conversation. And so for marketing perspective or for marketing reasons, I that's another big reason why I wanted to change it. And also I wanted to make the photos big. I
Yeah.
wanted to make them big and so you can see all different little aspects of it and it wasn't like just this sliding roller thing that you
Right.
go. Um, so yeah, that was a big thing. And back to the blogging question, I really only blog weddings that I absolutely freaking love, and
Mm.
I want to.
It's like a badge of honor for the people that see
Yeah,
it.
yeah, like I want more like this, so that
Mm.
I'm gonna
Kind of
blog
putting
it.
it out there of like, yeah,
Yeah,
definitely for me. I mean, a lot of places, at least portfolio wise, I worked at an agency full time, and I actually got like questions where they were like, "You don't really post the work that like you do here," like, and I was like, "I really don't want to do this." I mean, I had to be like frank with my boss. I was like, "Yeah, I don't want to do this for forever, so I don't
yeah,
really want to put out that I do this stuff." And he's like, "Fair play." I was like, "Yeah, I mean, I'll do it, but like, I would much rather put out like." Personal projects that are like more in the vein, and that's kind of like where I shared that stuff where it's like this is things I'm excited about, please, if anyone wants to hire me for these, this is what I'd be
I
totally
can
excited doing it. Yeah.
doing this stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Yeah,
With
yeah.
regards to like consultations, here's another question: how often do you have to decline clients? Yeah, this is interesting. Like what goes into a decline, really? Is it
Oh
like
man,
time, or is it just like sometimes it's like just the people don't vibe?
sometimes. Well, sometimes like with inquiries, I can know like right off the bat if they're not going to be a good time to work with.
Mm.
Um, like for instance, let's see, I'm trying to think. Like
Oh, we got a
if
follow.
what's up?
We just got to follow. Sorry, just trying to shout out the Madden Arts. Thanks for the
Awesome.
follow. But yeah, so sorry. Back to your
Oh no, you're
answer.
good. Um, if they put their budget as like $1,000 to $2,000 for a wedding for like the max of their wedding, I'm like, they're like, I mean, out of experience,
Mm,
like earlier on the game when I upped my prices, which was like 2 years ago, kind of learned the hard way of like, okay, when they say their photography budget, like take them seriously.
right.
Like they're not or they're just trying to like price shop and they're just trying to lowball you and stuff like that.
Which is also probably not, a good sign of like faithfulness in wanting your craft, which is I always find a very odd thing, especially
Yeah.
when we were like looking for stuff. I mean, we were like pretty specific. It was like mostly we were looking for someone that was like in our aesthetic of like what we liked, because it can go real cheesy real fast in wedding photography. And then
Uh,
the other big side of it was like we wanted full video, like raw given to us at the end in like a hard drive, so we could just like have the full thing, not just like our 8 minute cut down. And that was like my side of it. I wanted, I was like, if we're gonna be doing this, I like want it documented. And that was really hard to find through, I mean, it's just hard to get someone that's gonna have a full dedicated videographer along with them.
for sure.
But yeah, I can definitely see. I mean, we were like on the artist side, we were like definitely like pay the artist what they're worth. But we saw a
Yeah.
lot of posts that were people were like, I can't believe that it's, over $1,000. I was like, it's your one day. You can't like shell out a little bit of money for all these memories that are going to be captured, and like no one else is going to capture them for you. It blows my
Yeah.
mind that that's still like a crazy thing to people, that like it could, be a little bit expensive and not even really compared to all the other crazy expensive things that go along with weddings.
Oh, totally. Oh, yeah, yeah. And I mean, a part of me is I get it. Like I'm in the middle of the wedding
Right.
planning process right now, and I'm like, oh, I get it now. Like stuff adds up
Right.
really, and then you have to be like, all right, where do we compromise? Like
Mm-hmm.
where do we, like you can't have it all
Yeah.
unless you're blessed with a lot of money being able to be spent on your wedding.
Right.
But um, but no, probably the red flags I get, or have gotten in the past is people who seem to be like very um, like stepping over the line when it comes to like my process with
Hmm.
stuff. So what that means, at least in my experience, they they are pretty like choosy and demanding.
Mm.
They're like, or some people who give me a full blown uh, Pinterest board list of like shots they found on Pinterest that they want to reenact. Like
Oh.
that's, I mean, not that like it's a bad thing. It's not like you want to know, you love shots that you
Mm-hmm.
see, recreate them, like that's cool. But like with me, that's just not a part of what I do.
Right.
And so if somebody comes and like kind of brings that up in conversation, or like wants to know my process of and how I do things in the documentary style way, um, like usually those types of red flags come up and you're like, all right, this is going to bite me in the butt later.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, they're wanting to book me and it's like cash in hand, but at
Mm-hmm.
the same time it's like, how much of a headache are you willing to take on
Yeah.
potentially later?
And you probably, the more runway you've, acquired over the years, because you've been doing this a little bit of time, you probably can be a little bit more selective now, which I mean is like, just comes with like experience and like
Yeah,
building up something, versus in the beginning where it's like,
yeah.
ooh, I need to pay bills and you guys want to pay my bills, so I guess I can sacrifice. And like kind of, I feel like everyone's kind of had that early on in that freelance thing where you're just like, I need money and I can do this.
I got student loans that I
Yeah.
need back. Yeah, no doubt. And there's still even some of those that happen currently. Like a year or two ago, I booked pretty low
Mm.
amount of weddings that I usually do, and it was really strange. And so I started meeting people at their budgets just to have some type
Right.
of income coming in. And that's at the point where you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I think those are probably the biggest red flags with consultations, uh, that I get, of like kind of people overstepping their boundary a little bit, of not in the sense of like they don't ask questions. They're just like, yeah, take my money. Like,
Yeah.
like of course people have questions and they want to know the insight into what the process looks like or anything.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the biggest ones are the people who are looking for the type of photographer that wants that they want to do the things for them that like such as like very posy,
Right.
very interesty, type
Mm-hmm.
stuff. Like you've seen my portfolio, I don't shoot this way.
Yeah.
Like, hey, why are we still having a conversation?
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, but I don't know. I always try to hear people out first,
Mm-hmm.
and if we have a Zoom call or a coffee date or anything, and um, thankfully I haven't had to say no very much. It's
That's
usually
good.
them saying no to me.
Mm.
And at first it's like, oh, they don't like me. Oh, but after that it's like, no, like
Probably for the best. Yeah.
yeah, this wasn't a good fit. It's all good. Yeah.
So I've got
Um,
a question that's like a little bit not in the vein of like wedding photography, because I know that you also do some shoots for like brands and like bands, and so like is that like a big like in your career, like I know that like you've like pretty much like trailblazed and like made a name for yourself, as much as like I've seen that like you're pretty like well recognized in that space. Are you like super interested in kind of like diversifying what you offer and doing that other stuff? Because I mean, like your taste, I think, is what really drives a lot of this, and like you have good taste in just like aesthetically pleasing images. So it's like, I mean, not easy. I mean, they're a lot of work, but like you seem to be able to go over and like your photo shoots for like brands like look like great photo shoots for brands because like the eye is there, and then you go to music and bands and like the eye is there too. So just curious about that part of your like process and career.
Totally. That's actually something I've been thinking about for a little while now. There's definitely interest,
Mm-hmm.
and it's kind of at a point where don't really have the opportunities coming in quite yet. But every now and then I get an opportunity, and it's a blast. It's honestly a nice change up from shooting weddings.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and also just thinking about like what kind of lifestyle do I want, like 5 years from
Right.
now, especially like it's easy to be a wedding photographer and say like, oh, I just want to shoot all over the world and
Yeah.
just like pack my bags and go. But especially being married, and like Aaron and I want kids someday,
Mm-hmm.
like I would hate to miss my son or daughter's Saturday morning soccer games because I
Yeah.
have to shoot things. Like it's just kind of like real life stuff like
Mm-hmm.
that.
Definitely.
I think about. And so yeah, probably the two. There's like three other categories I've kind of like stepped toes in. Some more than others. I've done a couple different like product shoots for clothing brands,
Mm-hmm.
including Sidnaw here in town, and that was a blast. That was like all like lay flat
Right.
white background. It was a
It
blast.
looks
It was
super cool.
so chill, laid back. I don't know, doing those kind of gets you thinking of like,
Mm-hmm.
man, like what if I did make this
Right.
switch? Um, so yeah, that's kind of a thing that's been in the back of my mind. There's definitely interest. Even there's a couple of our buddies are in a band. They're from Detroit, but they moved over here about 2-ish years ago. Band's called Brother Elsie,
Yeah, I see
and
them
they're
on your story a lot. Those dudes are talented.
oh, dude, they're so freaking good. And like been lucky enough that they've hired on myself, my other buddy Steven, who does wedding photography, videography, but
Mm-hmm.
he's really like hitting his stride with videography and like cinematography. Like
Because you
the
guys
dude,
did that music video for them, right? That was like black and
yeah,
white. That
he
one was
did the.
sick. Yeah.
Oh, you watched it?
Mm-hmm.
Sweet, sweet. I'll let him know you
That had
did
like fireworks and stuff. That one, right? Where it was like on the white stage.
on the white
There was
stage.
like fireworks outside. I could swear it was like black and white.
Oh, was that for Michigander?
That's what I'm thinking of. Yeah, Michigander.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, I did photos for that music video as well. But another buddy, Matt Everett, did the video for that and
Okay.
has been videos for him too. He's been doing cool stuff too. He was on tour with Mount Joy. I don't know if you've heard of them at all.
Mm-mm. I saw him when he came here through New York before COVID hit this year, which was pretty awesome to like see in a pretty small venue. Yeah.
You saw Michigander?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
It
That's
was
awesome.
awesome. Yeah, he
That's
was super cool show. I mean, it was very weird. Like I'd seen him like on your like Instagram and stuff when you were like documenting and like doing some behind the scenes stuff, and I was like, oh, like that's a dope name. I'll like listen to it. And I was like, ah, this are like the perfect like kind of. I don't even know the other bands really to compare it with, but like kind of just gave me like the National kind of vibes where I was like, oh, I love this like soft
yeah.
rock kind of like gets like nice build, and I was like, this is like right up my alley. Um,
So totally the yeah, Jason Singer, the who is Michigander. I
mhm.
think the National's like his favorite
Oh
band.
yeah,
So
so good.
it's a lot of inspo from that. But getting I don't know, getting to do photos for Brother Elsie and some with Michigander, but mainly like Brother Elsie's like uh, my agency that
Right.
hires me every single time. Like I don't know, they're super cool. Like they really allow like a lot of creative freedom. Like the concept for their new music video that just came out was all done by Steven. It's called Honey. It's like really dark, moody, like dark navy blue neon vibes. Um, they've got a new record coming out really soon, and so they're doing a couple singles leading up to it. Um, but no, I mean, they're friends. Like we just like shoot the shit and they're, we just present them with ideas of what we think fits their aesthetic
Mhm.
and like their Americana vibe that they have, and they're like, sweet, yeah, let's do it. So they let me shoot like a ton of their photos all in film,
That's
like
awesome.
promoting this new project that they've got coming out in a couple
Cuz I
months.
see
And
you do a couple like portrait like shoots like on your story with them and stuff, and that's like all
yeah,
film.
most of them.
Cool.
I'd say it's about 50-50. I do bring the digital as well, just because I sleep better at night
Yeah.
knowing copy as well. But um, excuse me, I inherited my grandfather's Minolta medium
I
format.
saw that. That's so
Yeah,
dope.
and I was like praying that it still worked. And um, the guy at Mark, did you ever go to Mark's Camera and Photo?
I've I didn't, but I had a lot of like photography friends at Kendall.
Yeah, he was. I mean, they're like the only business that develops and scans film still in GR, and they have like a Kindle discount. So
Mhm. I think a
yeah.
lot of kids like who there's like a class 4 medium format that like went there for a bunch of their stuff.
Oh, sweet. Yeah. Um, yeah, and so I brought it to them, and I was like, "Hey, can you guys tell me if this will work or not?" And he's like, "There's only one way to find out. You just gotta throw a roll in and just see what happens." So I did that, and there were a couple of different bugs that need to be worked out, but it works great.
That's
So
awesome.
to be able to use it. But yeah, back to your original question, like uh, just working with Brother Elsie, like they just allow so much creative freedom, and
Mhm.
they're so relaxed. And I think we're already kind of riding the same wave, so it's not like they have to, you know, they're thinking a different way, and I
Right.
have to like
It
onto
seems like a
that. It's
very
just
good like partnership.
yeah, it's great, and we grab beers at the Meanwhile all the time, everything like that.
How would people go about, cuz I know I mean like your website is mostly like wedding facing and wedding booking. So like how would I mean just putting this out there in case anyone sees this, I don't know about that, but like how would someone go about like offering to like book you for something more in that kind of vein? Are you open to bookings, or are you like mostly still trying to keep it at like your very own discretion of like hunting down different opportunities in that space?
Oh, great question. I'm open to having a conversation with anybody. I feel like kind of like what I said earlier. I feel like I read people where people's like wave is going
Mm-hmm.
a little bit, and I mean, there's some where I'm just like, dude, I'm not the right fit.
Right.
like, but there are other times where it's like, oh yeah, I wasn't thinking about it that way. And then kind of going through that whole process of
Mm-hmm.
giving samples and getting feedback and stuff. But no, definitely down. I don't quite have like a portfolio designated for it, but just I try to put stuff in my Instagram every now and
Yeah.
then. You know, the film
Mm-hmm.
from Brother LZ and stuff like that and everything. And if somebody reaches out and is like, "Hey, can I see some stuff you've done for musicians?" Like, I'll send them galleries
Yeah.
full of photos. And because shooting live photos, like live concert photos, is super fun as
Mm.
well. Um, like if a musician that I vibe with, like, I mean, probably won't happen for a while, but asked me to go on tour with them, I would definitely
Mm.
consider it. That'd be super fun. Just because it's the same concept watching a concert, and like there's constant movement,
Yeah.
and just like an artist is expressing how they perform right there in front of
Mm-hmm.
you, like seeing like a crowd's reaction
Yeah.
and how they're interacting. Like it's a good like space to be in.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up going to shows since middle school, so I don't know, I was that kid at the show as well. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, that there's an interest there too. I've been doing some interior photos as well, like interior design, like
Hmm.
different. It's been like oh, I need an assistant, or like, hey, can you take a couple photos of this room I need to put on Facebook Marketplace or
Mm.
something. Um, but through that, I'm like, oh, this would be kind of fun too, because I love interior design and how what people do with the space that they're given in their house and stuff. So I don't know. There's like a bunch of different
Yeah.
areas, and I feel like I don't know. I think it's good to not try to be everything to
Mm-hmm.
everybody. Um, but at the same time, like, don't limit yourself and
Yeah.
feel
Just
like
be open.
one thing. So
What would be like? This is one that I ask everybody. Like your Everest project. Like, do you have like that one in your head where you're like, if I could just like, this is what I would like love to work towards, and like be a very big accomplishment that you'd be like set, center stage, that you've always kind of like been like, one day I'll be able to do that.
oh wow,
I
that's
know,
a great
kind of hard.
question.
I probably should give that question to people with like time to prepare.
Yeah. Man,
Because I know,
shoot.
like, personally for me, like, I mean, or like people in my space, it's always like sort of that like film that you want to work on where it's like, oh, if I could work on a Star Wars film, that'd be like, it, or
Yeah,
like
yeah.
sort of those sort of things. And I mean, a lot of people like kind of get there. And I mean, obviously someone is working on those things and it's not their dream, which it kind of shows you that like maybe you should dream outside of like specific things. Like that is something that I found more like there's more rewarding things. Like one of my friends' answers was like, I just want to mentor someone that can achieve everything that everyone else wants to achieve. Like if I can
Oh,
mentor someone along that process, that's like an achievement that I'm willing to
yeah.
go towards, which is like beyond learning, beyond you achieving. It's like if you can then do that and like bring someone else up, that like shows true like promise of like
Right. Right.
how much growth you've had, which I thought was a really introspective kind of answer and kind of made me question like my thing where I was just like, oh, I just want to work on a cool film, and then that will be
Yeah.
it.
At the end of the day, it can really turn into like a really self-absorbed goal.
Mm-hmm.
Much so. And I don't know. I get little reminders of that every now and then, because my main vein of income is taking photos of such a very like sacred and intimate day in somebody's life. And so hearing, like, for instance, an old college acquaintance got a hold of me last winter and said, we're about to like put my dad in hospice. Uh,
Mm.
he's fought cancer for years, and he's on, like, he's only got a certain amount of time left. And she hired me to come take photos of her and her whole family with her dad, just seated in a chair, kind of as like photos to enjoy as they moved into the
Mm-hmm.
hospice setting. Um, that really uh, that really impacted me. Just the whole vibe in the room, it was, um, man, it was this sense of just sadness yet like gratefulness,
Mm-hmm.
and um, it just very a different kind of depth than like what a wedding is. A
Right.
wedding is the start of something, and it's excitement,
Mm-hmm.
it's celebration. But this was like celebration yet like mourning and gratefulness and celebration, like all in a
Right.
room. And they're like cracking some jokes, but it's like still kind of like, like we all know what's about
Yeah.
to happen, you know. um and I don't know, like taking those photos for her to have of her dad. I mean, she's like 1 or 2 years younger than me, so at this
Mm.
age, losing a parent, I can't even imagine what that's like. I'm already dreading the day
Right.
that I go through that. But um, I don't know, that whole situation like really held weight, and was like, oh, like this is bigger than just like, hot babes on mountaintops,
Yeah.
get, getting dummy likes on Instagram. It's like, no, this is actually something that she's going to look at for the rest of her life, to
Mm-hmm.
remember her father.
Right.
Like, I don't know, that type of stuff, like going into like a wedding day as well. I don't know. I zero in on grandparents, like
Mm.
grandparents, kids, like this stuff's gonna last a long time, and they may need a photo that I take because it's the last photo they get of
Right.
grandma, you know? So I don't know. I think about that stuff. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's not just like, how can we make you look like a model
Right.
or like the most beautiful day of your life? But it's also like, how can we preserve this legacy happening right now?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what keeps me going with photos, is like that purpose,
Yeah.
uh, which I'm really grateful for. Like, there's to have like that immediate purpose right there.
Yeah, it's a,
Um,
like a lot of responsibility, which I know like personally for myself would be like way too daunting to like know that like these moments are happening and I am like solely responsible for documenting, capturing, and then like sharing this. And
yeah,
if I don't do it, no one's going to do it. Like I mean, like people at these events have like smartphones and stuff, but like
yeah,
there's nothing as like good as like no. I mean, we take all these photos, but like we rarely ever go back. But I feel like the like wedding photos or like something like that photo shoot that your friend had is just something that like is like the folded up printed thing that like someone carries with them, or like it's like a very tactile like memory that people can have, and it's a big responsibility to be like charged with being responsible for that, which I think is says a lot about like your like pursuit of this and being able to like be outside of yourself. And I've always found that like very inspiring to people that like are able to not just like look at it as like a business opportunity, right, or like making people everyone happy or everyone pretty or like all these things
yeah,
that like definitely go into it. And like it's a weird line because like you don't want to be like totally like upset with the photos of like your favorite day. You
right.
definitely want to still like how you look in them, but then like the one where like you're bawling your eyes out, like hugging somebody is like also needs to be there to like really remind you of like what it felt like on that day. Um,
Exactly.
so
Yeah. It's kind of like that weird in between of like, of course I'm gonna make you and the people in your life look attractive,
mm-hmm.
but not unlike
Right,
themselves. It's like enhancing it, and not enhancing what's already there, and not replacing it
right.
with something that is not.
Wait, so you don't retouch everyone's photos that you take photos of? Is that a
uh,
thing in the wedding community? Like drama that happens where like people totally just like retouch people without their knowledge? I feel like it's got to
oh,
be.
oh yeah. Oh, I do it all the time. Yeah. Well, like, and that's another, actually, to go back to your consultation thing we were talking about a little while ago. Um, that's another thing that has been a red flag in the past, is like, if I get a lot of like upfront requests to, airbrush or
Oh.
all that stuff. I hardly do anything, if at all, to people's faces.
Hmm.
Um, the only thing that I will do is if you have like the most obvious zit on your face, or um, something that is not normally there, but just happened to show up
Right.
on your day. Um, yeah, I'm gonna
No
help
need
you.
to immortalize it in these photos.
Yeah, it's like, let's not remember this monstrous zit on the end of your nose. But if you're asking me to like shave 50 pounds off your midriff, like make you look like a Kardashian,
Yeah.
like I I don't do that. Like, and you can't pay me extra to do it because I won't
Mm.
do it for you. So maybe we won't be a good fit.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's another red flag of like, if they're already asking for, you know, I mean, every now and then it's like, hey, can you be conscientious? Like, I don't like this side of my face, or like, I don't like how my arms look when they're at
Mm.
my side. So I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll keep that in mind for sure. Like,
Right.
you'll like that's a vulnerable thing. Thanks for letting me know. But if they're asking me to like recreate themselves in a photo, I'm like,
Do you ever have the flip side issue of this? Of like, I imagine it's got to happen where people take creative liberties with the finals that you give them and decide that maybe it just needs another Instagram filter on top of it. Maybe it needs to like be stretched in a
oh,
different way.
I just love that.
Love it.
I
Definitely
love it.
not artwork that you definitely gave them and were paid to make, and that they
And then
should.
they attach my name to it, and I'm like,
Nice.
no. Oh gosh, yeah, I've had that happen. Thankfully, not a whole lot.
Mm.
Um, Thankfully, not a whole lot, but every now and then there is that one photo that just gets that extra sepia filter on it, and
Nice.
it's like, this looks terrible. Like, so yeah, but thankfully that doesn't happen a whole
I
ton
think it's
either.
becoming more and more like known to people. I feel like it was for a lot of part just like total ignorance in people, just like not knowing that that's like, hey, this is art that I made, and you're now like going in and doing stuff on top of it that I don't want there and I
Yeah,
didn't approve of. And then people are like, oh, like I I've heard people that was, I just didn't know it was a big deal. It's like, I don't know how you could think that, but I'm glad that you now know, and it's like becoming more than norm. Like, do not edit the thing that I gave you that
yeah,
you paid me to make a certain way.
right, right, yeah. It's like the other thing the other thing that like I get kind of weird about is when people use it on social media and don't mention the photographer's name, or at least
Yeah,
like tag them at all.
that's really weird.
That's one I'm like kind of more lenient on. It's like, well, to them it's their photo, and
Yeah,
so if they're wishing their wife a happy birthday, I'm not gonna get pissed off if
yeah,
you don't like picture by Spencer Penfield. Like, who cares? Like,
yeah.
this is like
I
one of
don't
the
know. It's so easy to add in a tag, and it's so invisible. People should be able
yeah,
to do it. But I get like the whole thing of like, yeah, like writing it out in the bio. Like I get that that might be like a little bit of like might ruin your nice long love post to your wife, and then just like photo by this guy. It's like, okay, but like you could just add the tag if anyone's curious. Just it's
that,
invisible. They'll tap the photo if they're curious. No one will see
right,
it if they're not. Like I've had that a lot. Because like
yeah,
repost in our like 3D community is like a big thing, and it's like great. It's like beneficial for the pages, beneficial for the artist a lot of the time. But there's those few times where you just come across it, and the worst I've ever had are when it's like an edit of mine and then no tag. I'm like, this is straight up stealing. You're stealing my thing.
I could straight up sue you
Yeah.
for that.
Um, oh,
Goodness.
kind of speaking of like artists and like sharing over that, what is like do you have like any specific artists that like, I mean, no, we talked about like Joe and those people that like inspire you and like kind of have helped shape like your like look of things that you're like attracted to?
Yeah. I would say like there's a
Or even beyond like artists, just like, I don't know, like genres of things that like help shape that like kind of aesthetic that you like strive for, because it's like it's very specific, and like I can definitely tell like all of your stuff goes in the same kind of aesthetic, and like your eye is like very toned to like a very certain thing, but like I'm always curious what like goes into kind of like that.
totally, totally. Yeah, I think it's separated between at least for me, it's getting inspired by how people color things, and then also like inspired by how they capture people,
Mm.
at least in the wedding context. And there's a list of photographers that inspire me with how they color things and how they edit it. But I don't necessarily vibe with the like how they capture
Mm.
people. Um, I don't know. I'm kind of like taking this from here and this from here and this from
Yeah.
here. Stealing like an artist, if
Right.
you will.
Definitely.
Yeah, it's a good book. Have you read that book?
No, I don't read books. I should, but I've definitely heard many people talk on many podcasts about how good that
Yeah,
is.
yeah. I read it in college, and I can't remember a lick of it, but I just love the title, like
Mm.
"Steal Like an Artist." Um, but then so like there's one photographer mainly like as far as like coloring wise that I just think freaking nails it. His name's Jordan Voth. He's
Okay.
out of Seattle. Um, like love his tones. Really inspired by his tones. Um, they're just the detail in people's faces he gets. Like I just really click with.
Hmm.
I think that's really gorgeous. And so really inspired by him. There is, I would say, like coloring
Okay.
wise.
Cool. Yeah, I just pulled up Jordan's thing.
Yeah,
Like, these are
yeah,
nice like fall colors right now because we're moving into fall. But like cool
right.
like amber, golden tones.
Yeah. And I I don't I try not to go like as warm as he does.
Mm-hmm.
He's gotten way more like warmer over time, which I try to stay away from. I try to give it like a pleasant
Right.
glow, but not just look straight up like
Mm-hmm.
it's like your phone is on night shift.
Yeah.
Just kind of got this like yellow to
I feel
it.
like yours skews, at least from what I've seen in my eye, is like it's like in the warm spectrum, but like instead of going like magenta with it, it's more of like into the green, and it gets like that more like it's more of like a Sony curve of like how they represent skin tones. A
Totally.
very technical way of talking about it, but it's just like there's like you get like magenta skin tones or you get like the green skin tones, and I feel like
Yeah.
yours like goes like right in like the earth kind of tones. Along
Yeah.
with that is like something that I really like. It's like a little bit darker, more filmic, more
Mhm.
earthy. But I think that they really it just like really sells like a lot of the feeling behind them and like grounds everything.
Totally. Totally. Yeah. Yeah. And while at the same time, like I'm not gonna try to make a scene what it wasn't. Like
Mm.
if I take a photo of a reception tent at night, and like the sky is we call it blue hour. It's like dark
Yeah.
blue, but there's lights going on underneath. I'm not gonna fake it and not make the photo warm
Right.
when it or like I don't know, like too warm where I'm like trying to like overdo it,
Right.
for the sake of warmth or anything. Um, yeah, so I would say probably Jordan. I gotta remember her name. Um, Hold on one second. Yeah, probably for tones wise, I would say Jordan. I would say how people are captured. There's a couple different, um, like let's say, I'm trying to think. Actually, the photographer that's shooting Aaron and I's wedding, her name's Justine Montany. She's located here in Grand Rapids, but her tones are so clean, and she actually
Mm.
went to Kendall as well.
Cool.
Um, her tones are so clean,
Yeah, it's like
and
invisible. I mean, there's like a lot of stuff that goes into this, but it just looks like high quality like memories. It's just like there's
yeah,
nothing that you can tell is like, oh, like the shadows are tinted this way. It just like looks like this is what that moment was, like as long as you can think of it.
yeah. But there's still a certain way that she edits that it's like
Mm-hmm.
you still did something to
Yeah.
it. Yeah, I love that, and she's fantastic. I love how she sees people. Like, I love uh, what she what's the word I'm trying to think of? Her mantra behind like how she approaches
Mm.
photos and stuff. There's a couple other people here in town, like Jillian Bowes, Jill DeVries, all here in Grand Rapids. Um, well, actually, some of the people that I looked up to in college and still look up to now, but I saw them, I was like, holy crap! Like I've never seen anybody photograph in this way.
Mm.
So yeah, women like them. There's a woman out in, I think she lives in Tacoma now, but Seattle area. Her name's Kristen Marie Parker. I don't edit like her at all, but like I just appreciate her stuff. Like it's just really classy, really timeless. Uh, Very much like has her own style that I would feel like other people try to mimic. Um, it's so unlike anything. I don't even know what to say about it. It's
Yeah.
just really freaking classy.
I'll have to go back through and like look up these people and go through your followings and find them.
There's another gal who I met at a conference in Detroit a couple years ago. She she's based out of Atlanta, but she travels in between Atlanta, Detroit, and New York City. I can't pronounce her last name, Jelen. I tried to look it up to pronounce it, but her company is called Yellowbird Visuals.
Okay.
But her name is Michaela Jelen, Jelin. She, I've really been into her work lately.
Oh,
Like
cool. Yeah.
she integrates a lot of like film and a lot of blur and a lot
A
of
lot of like
just like
flash photography. Like, yeah,
flash.
that's
Yeah,
cool.
it's so sick. Yeah, been really, and she's the sweetest gal ever. So she's really great. So that's all on like the wedding side.
Mm-hmm.
On the commercial side, my good friend Jesse David Green is out of Detroit, and he's one of those dudes where it's like, dude, it feels like you just skate on everything that you do. Like you just kill it. Has been started shooting when he was like 16 or 17. Maybe did a little bit of college, but not too much. Hit the ground running full time. He's my age. He's 28. Uh, like married with two kids, one on the way. Has already got a decade under his belt with
Wow.
photography, and now he's like slowly transitioning out of the wedding game into like full time commercial stuff. But he's just stupid talented, and he's like a really good friend of mine, and just a guy I really look up to as well. Um, yeah, I'm sure there's others, but like those are the ones that like
Mm-hmm.
come to mind, where it's kind of like every time I see them post something, like I learn something a little bit,
Right.
like take a little nugget of like, oh, okay, next time at that wedding, like I don't know, pay attention to that,
Yeah.
or so yeah.
Cool. Well, I think I mean we're coming pretty close to. I mean, I didn't even think that we'd go 2 hours, but it's been pretty easy actually. So
Oh,
um,
yeah, dude, it's been 2 hours,
yeah,
man.
it's crazy that it's like it goes by pretty fast. I'm always worried that I don't have enough questions, but we actually got through that yeah, Inspires stuff was the last one on my list, and so I feel like um, good here. I think we don't really have many more questions coming through the chat. Is there anything else that you want to talk about, future projects or anything that you want to kind of have people pay attention to? Everyone should go follow you. I have your @ here on the stream. It's like at Spencer Penfield, so go follow him on Instagram. But yeah, any projects that you want to shout out or anything you're working on other than like the wedding stuff?
Man, trying to shoot for fun more.
Mm.
Um, nothing seriously like side projects or anything. There's probably been the blessing with I mean, COVID is not a blessing, but
Silver
like
lining to a horrible thing.
wanted to clear that up
Yeah.
real quick. But given the circumstances that COVID had put like us wedding photographers in, I found myself shooting for fun a lot, and diving back into shooting film,
Mm.
uh, and getting more fascinated with film. And so I think the the personal project stuff, I think, is just like getting better and getting more educated about film. And um, I don't necessarily think buying a new expensive camera is always the fix, but like some like Michaela, the gal I was talking about earlier, she brings like probably five cameras
Wow,
to
that's a lot.
um
It's
I
got
think
that like weird holster thing you guys all got with like clips
oh,
everywhere.
like we got like Tommy guns
Yeah.
strapped. Um, no, I think I saw on an Instagram post from her a couple of days ago. She just had like all these thrifted digital or film cameras that she
Mm.
brings. I'm like, I think that's so sweet. Like, um, I don't know, just the idea that you need new flashy gear to be a good
Right.
photographer is just not true at all.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, I think just getting more like artsy fartsy with stuff, like getting more into film. And I've thought about like a friend of mine bought her own like darkroom kit
Mm.
on Amazon and is
Yeah.
learning how to do like darkroom stuff. I think that'd be really sweet.
Yeah, big
Uh,
space to like kind of experiment with their like pushing stuff, pulling stuff like too much, like adding different mixtures. Like there's just like so much beyond like the capture side. It's all like how do I bring
exactly.
like all this new stuff into it, which could be like pretty fun because like I know like digitally might get a little bit monotonous with like how you kind of go through it after a bit, but like film is like it's different every single time, and like it there is
Yeah,
no way to get the same exact look out of it every time.
I know, and that's what really made me fall in love with it, especially shooting on the medium format. I was
Mm-hmm.
like, this camera is straight from like 1950 something.
Yeah.
Like, this is so freaking rad. So I don't know, that kind of like ignited another fire in me of
Mm-hmm.
like, let's go down that
Yeah.
road. Like, let's learn more about that and everything. So the last couple weddings I've shot, including two from last weekend and the weekend before, I brought along my like cheap ass Canon digital or film camera I got in college, and have been sending a complimentary like roll of 35 millimeter film. That's the scans of them in their gallery,
Mm.
just as a thank you. I just
Cool.
randomly throughout the day, and that's been cool to see like how those turn out
Mm-hmm.
and everything. So I don't know, just kind of like getting better at doing more of what I want instead
Yeah.
of told and what everybody is telling everybody else on how you should do wedding photography. I don't know, like
Mm-hmm.
stand out a little bit and incorporate what organically interests you into what you're doing already. And I don't know, just having fun.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, thank you again so much for doing this. It's been great. I think this one went really well. It's like nice to get different people from different kind of art forms and different mediums inside, so that we're not rehashing all the same rendering computer graphics conversations every single time. So this will be super fun. Um, I've got them booked out for like the rest of the year, but we should definitely do this again, kind of catch up, like maybe like a year down the line, and kind of see what happened after all the stuff once COVID hopefully is gone and we can resume kind of normalcy in some form. But yeah.
Hope to God that happens. Yeah. Oh, I'd so be down. I would really appreciate that.
Cool.
Yeah.
So I think that we're going to call it there, and then everyone can tune in next time, same time, 1 p.m. EST for the next interview. I'll announce that on Wednesday on my story. So thank you, Spencer. Thank you, everyone, for stopping by.
Thanks
See
for
ya.
having me. See ya.